Ever found yourself pondering over the concept of ego? What exactly is it and how does it shape our spiritual voyage? It's a seemingly simple inquiry that carries profound significance. Ego, a term we commonly throw around, yet its true essence remains shrouded in mystery for many. So, what exactly is this elusive ego we talk about? It's your conscious mind, the segment of your identity that you identify as yourself. It's akin to the skipper of your ship guiding your thoughts, actions and responses. It's that voice within you that gently whispers, "This is who I am." But the ego is much more than just a psychological concept. It's a dynamic, ever-changing entity molded by our experiences, beliefs and perceptions. Imagine a kaleidoscope, ceaselessly shifting its patterns and hues, mirroring our distinctive outlook of the world. But as enthralling as it sounds, the ego can potentially pose a hindrance in our spiritual journey. It's like a soft veil, subtly casting on our true essence, instigating a sense of detachment and disconnection. It's the faint echo that resounds, I and mine, subtly confining us within the boundaries of our own identities. It's the gentle barrier separates, the illusion that misleads, and the hum that muffles the soft murmurings of our soul. The ego, with its constant craving for acknowledgement and dominance, can trap us in an endless loop of desire and repulsion, joy and sorrow, love and loathing. It might make us feel like an isolated wave distinct from the ocean, overlooking our magnitude, our unity with the broader cosmos. However, the is not our adversary. It's an integral part of us, a part that assists us in maneuvering through life's intricacies. But when takes the reins, rather than being a loyal servant, it can impede our spiritual evolution. It can ensnare us in the deceptive web of illusion, steering us away from the path of self-realization and enlightenment. So the ego, while an integral part of us, can potentially obstruct our spiritual evolution. But what makes it act thus? Let's explore further. Take a moment and ponder, how does the ego, this very essence of self, influence our spiritual voyage? Amid the infinite panorama of existence, envision your ego as a single thread, meticulously weaving your unique pattern into the grander masterpiece. This is your sense of self, your identity, the you that feels distinct, unique, standing apart from the infinite cosmos. However, the role of the ego in our spiritual sojourn is intricate and occasionally misinterpreted. The ego, with its incessant yearning for acknowledgement and affirmation, fosters the sense of individuality. It gently persuades us that we are secluded islands amidst an enormous sea, detached from others, separate from the universe itself. This perception of separateness may act as a hindrance on our spiritual path, a path that often seeks to unveil the interconnectedness of all. In numerous spiritual doctrines, the ego is seen as a veil, a misty lens that skews our perception of reality. It subtly blurs the realization that we aren't solitary entities, but rather integral pieces of a larger, interwoven tapestry. This illusion of individuality, propelled by the ego, can impede our spiritual progression, preventing us from experiencing the profound unity of existence. Indeed, the ego's insistence on individuality can steer us into a state of spiritual nearsightedness, where our own wants, desires and fears take center stage, causing us to lose sight of our interconnectedness with all that surrounds us. We become oblivious to the threads that link us to the cosmos, to the shared essence that unites all beings in a cosmic of existence. However, let's not rush to label the ego as a villain. Instead, consider it as a tool, a vehicle that navigates us through our earthly journey. Like any tool, it can be wielded wisely or foolishly, and understanding its true nature is the initial stride towards using it to fuel rather than obstruct our spiritual evolution. Closing ego, in its noble endeavor to affirm its individuality, can sometimes veil the profound ties we share with the world. But the question remains, how can we transcend this obstacle? How can we gently let go of the ego to foster a more profound bond with ourselves and the universe? In the harmonious ballet of life, the ego isn't our foe. It's more like a dance partner. It's an aspect of us, yet not our entirety. Transcending the ego means looking past this restricted perspective of self, welcoming the boundless, interconnected nature of our existence. Let's start with mindfulness, a lovely practice of being entirely present, of cherishing each moment in its pure form, free of judgment. Developing mindfulness allows us to recognize the subtle whispers of the ego. We become more conscious of its unending narration, its worries, its cravings, and its illusions. Observing these patterns, we can gently unweave ourselves from them. Then there's meditation, a practice that guides us deeper into the serene quiet beyond the ego's clamor. In this tranquil space, we can encounter a sense of peace, a sense of existence, untouched by the ego's shifting tides. In this oasis of calm, we get a glimpse of our true self, our inherent completeness, and the interconnectedness of all things. Lastly, acts of compassion can guide us beyond the ego. The ego thrives on division, on the illusion of me against them. But when we act with compassion, we bridge this divide. We acknowledge the common thread of humanity in each other, and by doing so, we soften the ego's grip. These practices aren't instant solutions. They are lifelong journeys. They call for patience, tenacity, and a gentle, loving mindset towards ourselves. They invite us to delve into the depths of our being, to question our presumptions, and to embrace the enigma of existence. As we transcend the ego, we don't lose our sense of self. Instead, we expand it. We come to the realization that we are not solitary, detached beings, but essential parts of a vast, complex mosaic of life. We learn that our true nature is not confined to the ego's narrow confines, but is infinite and limitless. Letting go of the ego is a transformative process. It is a journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. You may be wondering, how can we weave this ego transcendence into the tapestry of our everyday existence? The answer, my friend, rests in the gentle cultivation of mindfulness, empathy, and humility. To begin, let us consider mindfulness, a soothing balm that helps us to dwell in the present, to observe our thoughts and emotions without criticism. It permits us to acknowledge the ego's sway without being overwhelmed by it. As we nurture our mindfulness, we start to perceive the ego not as a cruel dictator, but as a part of ourselves crying out for understanding and compassion. Moving forward, the practice of empathy provides the key to leave our ego-bound viewpoints. By slipping into others' shoes, we subtly loosen the ego's grip on our understanding of the world. Lastly, preserving a sense of humility acts as a counterweight to the ego. The realization that we are but a fragment of a larger tapestry, that we are not the nucleus around which the cosmos revolves, humbles the ego and fosters a sense of unity. Transcending the ego is not about discarding it, but about fostering a deep comprehension and harmonizing it with our spiritual expedition. For the voyage of spirituality is a pilgrimage towards unity, not fragmentation.